Welcome to Recaply X. Your movie recap in a flash. We bring the drama, the action, and the twists. In minute, the movie starts with a person named Nate, and we know that Nate works in a bank and lives a somewhat boring life. Today, Nate leaves home and goes to work at the bank as usual. As soon as Nate arrives at the bank, he stands with the manager Nigel, who was giving a lecture to the new employees at the bank. We know that Nate is Nigel's assistant. Anyway, after a while, a new employee named Cherry arrives at the bank, and it is very clear that Nate likes her, literally from the first glance. In general, Nate enters now his office, sitting with an old customer named Terrence, and we know that Terrence has a store that he took out with a loan, and this store could close at any moment because Terrence can't pay the bank loan, and Terrence is very upset because this store was the one he worked in with his wife Betty, who died very recently. So that's why Terrence doesn't want to lose this store, because this store is the only thing he has left from his wife. The important thing is that Nate now knows Terrence and his wife Betty very well, so he sympathizes with Terrence and promises him that he will help him later. Then Nate goes in to do something for himself to drink, and now the employee, whose name is Cherry, comes to him and accidentally bumps into him, so all the hot water that he was making now falls on his hand. The strange thing is that Nate doesn't feel anything, not even a small pain, and this is because Nate, my friend, is suffering from a strange disease that makes him emotionally numb and almost has no feelings at all. He doesn't feel pain or anything. Anyway, Nate passes the situation completely normally, and Sherry is surprised that he didn't feel pain. Sherry comes to him to apologize, so he accepts her apology immediately. Sherry asks him, as compensation for what she did today, that they go out together at night and invite her to something. Nate agrees because, as we said, he loves Sherry, and this is, by the way, the first time Nate feels any feelings towards anyone. Phil actually takes Nate and Sherry out and they go to a place to sit there. At the same time, there was a group of friends. They were Ned's friends back in the day. He went to school and they are now sitting here in this place. One of the group comes now with Nate and Sherry, and he starts making fun of Nate and his illness and many things like that. After that, he leaves from his place, and of course, Sherry is upset, but Nate tells her that they are his friends. Long ago, when he was in school, they used to make fun of him a lot when he was little, because of course, he couldn't feel any pain or any feelings, so they used to beat him a lot until he would literally fall or faint, and of course, he didn't feel anything, but they would be happy. Of course, at that time, Sherry would be upset and annoyed and wants to get revenge, but she doesn't know how. Now Nate goes to the bathroom, and when he comes out, he finds Sherry sitting with his bullying friend, and they are teasing him, and this annoys Nate a lot. But here Sherry laughs at Nate's friend, and makes him drink hot sauce, and makes him look like a monster in the place, and she keeps making fun of him, and takes some of Nate's things, and they leave, and of course, Nate is unusually happy, because he starts to feel that Sherry loves him too, and that's why she defended him in front of his bullying friend. In any case, Nate and Sherry go to Nate's house, and they sit there and talk a lot and get to know each other more. The next day, Nate wakes up and is all excited and energetic for work, and also happy, and this is something that Nate feels for the first time, and that's why he is really happy. After that, Nate goes to work at his bank and is very excited and happy to the point that he decides to go to Sherry and officially tell her that he loves her. While Nate was comforting Sherry, a disaster happens, my friend. Suddenly, 3 people dressed as Santa Claus enter the bank. These 3 are a gang, and now they are pulling out their weapons and seizing everyone in the bank, and terror is spreading everywhere. By the way, one of the gang grabs the bank manager Nigel and keeps asking him to open the bank safe so they can rob it. But Nigel, of course, refuses, and unfortunately, the mustache and the ears that the man put on his face fall off a little from his face, so Nigel sees his face, and because the man's face was seen, he shoots him and kills him. After that, the same person grabs Nate because he is the manager's assistant and asks him to open the safe, but Nate refuses. He gets lost, and one of the gang grabs Cherry and threatens to kill her. Because Nate, as we said, loves Cherry, he decides to save her life and tells the thieves how to open the safe. They actually open it and take all the money in it, which is a lot. Anyway, when the thieves finish robbing the safe, they immediately decide to leave the bank, but they take Cherry with them and leave the bank. They find police forces present everywhere, so they arrest everyone because they currently have Cherry with them, so the police do not want to shoot because she is not harmed. But the gang immediately finishes off all the police, one after the other. Then they get into a car and run away with them. A third person from the gang takes a second car on his own and runs away with all the money. As for Nate, he goes out of the bank and now sees an officer injured and bleeding. This officer is going to die. He tied a belt on his leg to stop bleeding, and he runs quickly after Sherry in order to catch her. But because this officer is going to die, and the police officer has the belt in his hand and ties him around his legs so that he does not bleed, he freezes and takes the stroller and starts running after Sherry, but he prefers to expel the gang. The gang senses that there is someone walking behind it and is following it, so they decide to separate from each other in the stroller. The first car, which Sherry is in, it goes to the right, and what is in it, the money, goes to the left. Unfortunately, Ned decides to run after the car with the money on the basis that it is the one with Sherry in it, and he stays after him for a long time, chasing him until in the end this person is locked up in a dead-end place. So Nate comes down and pins him down with a gun and asks him about the exact location of Sheriff, but the person from this gang, whose name is Ben, refuses to tell Nate anything, and he always fights with him in a very fierce fight, to the point that now while they are fighting, they go inside a restaurant and continue the fight there. See all of this? Nate doesn't know what to do because Nate is literally a poor, ordinary bank employee and is currently fighting with someone who used to work in the army, and therefore he is a great fighter, so they keep fighting with each other and hitting each other in an incomprehensible way, and Nate tries to use everything he can to hurt him. For example, he grabs a bowl, he heats it up and makes him burn him, or grabs a knife and hits him with it, or grabs literally anything that could hurt him, but not as badly as he would kill the other one. And he continues like this until he concentrates and sees that the gun he had with him is now in the oil boiler. So he decides to take a slightly foolish decision, which is to literally put it in the oil and pull out the gun and kill this man. And he actually does that, and while he is dying, but Nate's hand is burned, and as we said, he doesn't feel anything in general. After this long battle, Nate is able to finish off Ben, as we said, and he is immediately photographing the tattoo on his hand, and we will understand why later. Anyway, he takes a car and sets off on his way to try and also find Cherry. And by the way, also to escape from the police, because now the police will definitely come and find out that he killed Ben and stuff. You'll start looking for the police anyway. After that, Nate contacts someone he knows, who is probably his only friend, named Roscoe. He asks Roscoe about the place where the tattoo might have been done. He tells him, "I'll send you the picture." Nate wants to know where Ben got the tattoo so he can go to that place. There, he asks the person there about Ben and his house, because when he finds out these things, he might eventually find the rest of the gang, along with the place, Cherry. Anyway, Roscoe has done a lot of research until he finds out the place. They tell Nate, and immediately, Nate decides to go there and sets off on his way. At the same time, by the way, Detective Barbara arrives with her assistant, and we learn that they are the ones who will be supervising the crime. Barbara now knows that the bank manager's assistant, who is Nate, stole a policeman's gun and car, and he is also chasing criminals alone. This makes Barbara suspicious of Nate, and that he might be a spy, and working with the gang, decides to look for him and find him, especially since he was the reason for opening the safe for the criminals. After a while, Barbara and her assistant arrive at the restaurant where Nate killed Ben, and they see Ben's body. Barbara is shocked and decides to look for Nate more because there is something wrong with him. Stop what he is doing until he finds her. End. Indeed, Barbara's team was able to reach his location and determine it. Barbara is happy because this way she will be able to reach him. Now scene. We see that he went to the tattoo shop where he knew Ben got his tattoo, and currently, she comes. A girl takes Nate to a tattoo parlor, and Nate pretends to want to get a tattoo and stuff, and the shop owner asks him how he knew about this place. So he tells him that he is Ben's friend, and shows him a picture of Ben's tattoo, and says he wants a tattoo like that, and that's it. Now the shop owner starts getting ready to get the tattoo Nate wants, but Nate starts trying to get the shop owner to talk to him, to get Ben's address or any information about him. But the shop owner is not comfortable with Nate at all, and his way, and feels that he wants to get him into a fight, so he decides to confront Nate, and gets a knife right away to attack him. But Nate was faster, and pins the guy down with a gun. But the problem that happened here is that the girl who works with the guy comes and hits Nate, and knocks the gun out of his hand. And at that moment, the shop owner takes advantage of the opportunity, and Nate up really hard, literally hitting him in a glass. But despite all of this, Nate still doesn't feel anything. And here a great idea came to Nate. He started hitting both of his hands on the glass in a massive way because of the fact that this glass stuck in his hand. Nate now gets up. He hits the shop owner with the glass, causing him a serious eye injury, and falls on the ground. Here he keeps asking the shop owner Nate about Ben's full name, so he actually tells him what his name is, and then he keeps recording Nate that name and calling on one of his other friends to find that name for him. This person knows exactly where his home is, and literally now he knows exactly where his home is, so he decides to go to him so he can reach Sherry. Sherry is currently in a secret warehouse with the rest of the gang members. The rest of the gang members are the gang leader, whose name is Simon, and also Andre. Andre is Ben's brother, by the way. Andre is currently talking to Simon, and they know that his brother Ben has been out a lot late, and that he is worried about him in an abnormal way in case something happened to him or he was arrested. That's why he goes out looking for him. Simon worries about Andre and tries to change his decision because he might be arrested too. But Andre doesn't go back and goes out looking for his brother Ben. Anyway, Simon sits with Sherry and talks to him. We find out that Sherry is Simon's partner in the robbery, and that she is not just his partner, she is literally his sister. All this time she was getting close to Nate, so that he would trust her and be able to reach the key. The safe is from him, and she knows it to the gang. And that's why Sherry pretended to love Nate, not because she really loved him. She was deceiving him from the end. But my friend, Sherry, is sitting sad now. But that's because she literally really loves Nate, and she doesn't like everything that happened. In any case, we go back again to Nate, who is currently arriving at Ben's house and trying to search in Ben's house for anything that would tell him where Ben works. The idea is that Ben's house is literally full of traps, and Nate keeps stepping on one trap after the other, and gets hurt, and gets hit with a ball full of pins, and gets hit with a knife, and gets hit with an arrow in his leg. And he doesn't feel any pain, so he keeps searching the place here for anything that indicates the place where Ben works until he finally finds Ben's coat, from which he knows that Ben works in a car repair shop, and now this workshop is the one where Simon and Sherry are currently. In any case, after Nate knows this information, he is going to go and rescue Sherry, but the problem is that he falls into a trap and remains suspended in the air, unable to move at all. That is why an idea comes to Nate, which is to take out his mobile and call his friend Roscoe to ask him for help and to come and rescue him from the trap. But Roscoe, of course, refuses. We know from Roscoe's words that they are friends online, nothing more, and they have never met in reality. That is why Roscoe refuses to come after Nate, because they are not really friends. They are friends online, but Nate knows that Roscoe does not have any friends in this life except him. But he needs his help, because if he does not come and help him, he will die. Roscoe decides to go and rescue him, but Andre, Ben's brother, the one who arrives first at the house, he is of course surprised. The problems begin when Simon calls Andre, and they learn that his brother, Ben, has now received news from the police that he has been killed, and that the one who killed his brother is the bank employee who is literally an assistant. The director here knows Andre, that the one who killed his brother is the one tied in front of him right now, and thus, Andre is shocked and decides that he will torture Nate. He takes Nate down and literally ties him to a chair, and continues to torture Nate with severe, strong torture. And he thinks, of course, that Nate will be affected and will be tortured now, and I am upset. But Nate, of course, is not in his mind or mind. He feels anything, but now he prefers to work on Andre himself. He feels pain, and he is in a lot of pain, because Andre continues what he is doing for the longest time possible, so that in the end he reaches Roscoe. It does not take long, and Roscoe actually reaches the place and hits Andre, so he falls unconscious. After that, Roscoe goes to Nate and frees him, but Roscoe told Nate that he is very tall and has a body called athletic and looks like a famous actor named Jason, which is why he laughs at Roscoe and that he lied to him about everything. This is something that tells us not to be surprised by everything we see on the internet. But apart from all this laughter, Roscoe is able to free Nate, and they take each other now to leave. But the problem is that Andrea wakes up again and fights with Nate. He and Nate keep hitting each other until Roscoe comes and throws his knife at Nate. The knife enters Nate's hand, but he doesn't feel it, and he immediately sticks it in Andre's leg. But Andrea doesn't let him go and keeps fighting him really hard. Nate literally doesn't know what to do, but he sees the arrow that entered his leg a while ago from the trap house. He sees that it is still in his leg, so he literally grabs Andre's head and starts throwing the arrow at it. The arrow literally passes from Nate's leg to Andre's head to Nate's other leg all the way, and Andre stays hanging in the middle, dead. Andre is disgusted by this sight, so he unties it completely and now starts treating him and bandaging his wounds. Of course, now they keep talking. They are happy that they met again. They plan how they will reach Sherry, but they can't do anything because the police, or Barbara and her assistant, arrive and surround the place from outside. Nate and Roscoe keep thinking of a plan to escape from this ambush until they have a good idea. After a while, Nate leaves the house, takes the motorcycle, and escapes from Barbara and her assistant. So they run after him and arrest him, thinking that they arrested Nate because he was wearing a suit. But here, they discover that he is not Nate and that he tricked them. Roscoe wore his suit, making him go out so that they would run after him, and he escaped in another way. So they keep arresting Roscoe and decide that they are looking for Nate, who took advantage of the opportunity and escaped from his place. Nate has now reached the workshop that he learned from the address, which is in Ben's house, and he finds Simon and Sherry, and Simon is currently trying to free Sherry, and now Simon is talking to him, and Nate is shocked, and they learn that Sherry remains his sister, and that they agreed on the bank's operation from the beginning, and that she was a worker, she loves him, all of this, so that she can find out from him the password to the safe in the bank and steal it. Not much more than that, but she is his sister, helps him, and is his partner in the gang, and she does not love him. Meanwhile, Nate gets shocked in an unnatural way because he thought Sherry loved him and did all this and all the misfortunes, pain, and harm that he suffered because of her. When he was shocked now, Nate focused on Sherry for a while. Simon quickly took advantage of the opportunity and hit Nate, and the gun fell from his hand. After that, Simon decided that he was going to kill Nate, and now he brought Nate under his car and lowered the car to his death, because in the unit, Sherry tries to stop Simon from the madness he is doing. She really loves Nate, so she gets more angry with Sion. He gets his gun and pins Sher down to kill her, but before he does that, Barbara and her assistant give him a ride. Barbara's assistant hits Simon with fire, and he falls dead, but they save each other for Nate, and the ambulance comes, and they take Nate so he can be treated. They put him now in the ambulance, but they put Nate in the ambulance's bed. Barbara and her assistant will take the redemption of Sherry and walk away, and the case will continue like this. But the problem here is that Simon will not be able to match, and all along he will get up and hit Barbara's assistant with fire, killing him, and he will not stop there. He will also hit Barbara with fire, injuring her and taking the rest of the money that was here. And Nate, of course, is in a coma and is in the car and does not know everything that is happening. For Sherry, she wants to save Nate, who did all this for her and who loves her, and she really loves him. So she takes a key to Barbara's car in order to chase Simon, stop him, and save Nate. At this moment, Barbara asks Sherry to take her with her, so she actually takes her in the car. The one in it, Roscoe, is heading off, and they are on their way after Simon and Nate, who is still in his ambulance car. We now see that Nate is coming out of his state of fainting and discovers that Simon is the one who was driving the car, not any paramedic. Nate tries to go to him and discovers that he is tied to the bed. Nate gets very angry and decides to untie himself. He keeps breaking his fingers. He can remove the handcuffs from his hand, and then he uses the electric shock device and shocks Simon in a shocking way. Simon does not know how he is controlling the car, and it swerves from him and flips over, but Simon and Nate come out alive and they keep hitting each other to the point that they get out of the car and continue hitting each other. But Nate is literally tired and Simon is very strong, we say, so he is able to overcome him. Simon is also able to break Nate's arm, and Simon is in the form of Nate, but before he does that, Sherry arrives and shoots him and leaves him, so Simon goes crazy and goes to Sherry and keeps hitting her extreme strength. At this moment, Nate sees everything that is happening, so he gathers his strength and courage and goes to Simon and kills Simon in a horrible way. After a while of all this, we see Nate in the hospital being treated for everything that happened to him from the beginning until now, and Roscoe, his loyal friend, visits him. After a short period of time, Detective Barbara arrives and is happy when she finds out that Nate is in the hospital. She continues to thank Nate and everything he did, and they get to know the idea that the court sympathized with him because he was trying to save Sherry and fighting with all these criminals. Because of this, the judge decided to sentence him to house arrest for 6 months only, which means 5 years of surveillance. At this point, he won't be imprisoned for even 1 day, so Nate is unusually happy and continues to thank Barbara. He counts all this talk, and he has been my friend for about a year. We currently see Nate playing a game with Roscoe, and they talk together like they used to do before. But their talk has changed because they stopped lying to each other, and they agree to meet up constantly. And when Nate finishes playing with Roscoe, he takes his friend and goes to prison to visit Sherry, whom he loves with all his heart. He sits with Sherry and talks to her, so we know from their conversation that Sherry will get out of prison soon, and then she and Nate will get married and spend the rest of their lives together. If you liked the video, subscribe to the channel and activate the notification button so you never miss an update. See you in the next video.